Hello and oh shit, hang on a minute. There we go. Hello and welcome back to yet another positive What the Falk Sunderland review show after Sunderland once again produced a comeback win to defeat Norwich City 2-1 at the Stadium of Light and reclaim, the Friendly Cup. It was a merry Christmas at the Stadium of Light. I'm very merry, so it's probably going to be in the hands of Peter and Dave this one, but we'll try our best as Dan and Dan, first name terms, Dan Ballard and Jobe scored second half goals to make sure we ended 2024 with 3 points. And you might guess who's with us because I've given it away a little bit. First and foremost, it is Peter. Peter, I am rat-arsed, mate. Are you all right?
No better place to be, really, is there? What a result! I'm very canny, mate. I'm on my way home. I'm by land, by sea, by air. We are on the ferry. I'm currently just off the coast of Norwich right now as I'm talking to you on the ferry, heading to Tynemouth from Amsterdam. So bear in mind if you do hear my daughter, my dog, or my wife scream and shout at some point, there's not a lot I can do about that. We're all crammed in a wee cabin here.
Dave, you have your own dog with you today in the form of a former Reading legend, but apart from being in his company, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Day full of sport. Currently watching darts, waiting for the boxing, and nicely set up by Sunderland. And you just wouldn't want to take the lead against us, would you? Because you've got no chance.
Nah, love it. Dave, I'll stick with you. 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. I'm a little bit worse for wear, to be honest. I probably shouldn't be doing a podcast. But how are you feeling after that bloody brilliant win, which is really good, which is why I'm in a merry mood?
Very positive, mate. It's fantastic. I just keep looking at that gap to seventh place, if I'm honest. And the fact that that's grown a bit more a day makes me very happy. I've been thinking for probably about 2 months now that we're on our way to Wembley at the end of the season. There's a lot of twists and turns before then. I'm aware of that. But I just think, one, we've got quite a capable young squad. Two, they have the right attitude for it, and that never say die attitude, which is nice to see. And thirdly, just don't think the rest of the league's quite as good. I think Luke Williams probably summed it up very well last week, and I probably want to reiterate what he says. There's a little group of teams who are just that little bit better than everyone else. There's probably two teams which are clear of everyone else, and that's Sheffield United. You've got to remember they had a 2-point deduction at the beginning of the season as well. So they're ticking along very, very nicely without being spectacular. But we've competed with them, and I think that proves that we are in that group of top six who should be there quite comfortably by the end of the season. And let's hope that the lottery pays itself off for us for once, because it's been a while since we had a big Wembley final. No disrespect to Wickham, no disrespect to Tranmere, but yeah, this would be the big one if we got there and we could get back to the promised land, wouldn't it?
I mean, this is the words of What the Falk podcast, not Dave Lawrence, but full disrespect to Wickham Wanderers. I have zero respect for anything they will ever do until I need one of them for a preview podcast. If they ever get promoted, then I'm very sorry. Pete, 10 p.m. Saturday. Look, I was talking about this on the way back from the train. I'm loving this season. Look, I know it's not perfect, but Sunderland's not perfect. But this season, I said today to the lads behind us, I want to win for me. I want to win for Sunderland, but I want to win for the lads that are playing. I'm just dead. I've had a few, but I'm proud of them. I like them. I like the players that play. There's not a player I don't like. I want them to win, and I almost expect them to win. So great, isn't it? Nice to say that.
You expect them to win. I think they expect themselves to be able to get themselves out of problems, which, the amount of times, how many times is that on the trot now that they've come from behind to get something from it for? There's character in amongst these players that is additional to the obvious talent that they've had. But Sunderland have had talented young players. They've had talented players in the past. and they've had talented players making up a squad, but they've not had the character, the unity that these lads have. I think when you look at Jobe in the first half, don't think he played particularly well. But I mean, in fact, I was making notes I was thinking, all right, maybe today is one of the ones where we go, well, we praise them when they do well, and when they don't do well, we have to dig them out because leading up to the first goal. But scratch all that out. Look what that lad does in the second half. He's absolutely phenomenal. You got a similar thing with Chris Rigg. I mean, the lad's 6 years old, and he's shrugging off absolute giants of players in that second half as well. Definitely proud of this group of players, and I think a lot of it comes down to not just the style of the way they play, but the attitude in which they are willing to go, right, all right, you've gone ahead, we've cocked that up. They know that they can get something out of it, and there's always going to be a confidence there, particularly considering they've come up with the goods so many times that if you do go ahead against Sunderland, you've got an even tougher challenge then. I mean, it would be great if we can stop giving teams an advantage. I don't think we're that good in this league to be able to give teams a 1-goal advantage. But no, very happy with this team. Very happy with the players. Could do with some additions, I would say, in the January window just to make sure we get a bit more experience in there. I think, but no, really happy. I think if you look at the likes of Jobe with that, I mean, that goal's phenomenal. You look at Chris Rigg again, and I mean, look, Chris Mepham, what a footballer he
Unreal.
is! What a central defender he is! By far and away, the best I've seen as a centre defender in this league. And the fact that he plays for Sunderland and he seems to coast through games, not say coast, he seems to just move through games at such a relaxed pace because he's always there. He's always one step ahead of the opposition. And really happy, over the moon. It's a couple of little things I think we can dig them out on, which we probably should do. But overall, can't beat that, can you, when you come from behind and win 2-1?
Can't complain about it at all. By the way, it's funny that you're on a boat and I feel like I'm on a fucking boat. I'm swaying to that point.
It is shifting. It is shifting, I can tell you. It's going from side to side like you wouldn't believe.
I feel that, and I'm in a static house. But I agree. I feel like today, I'm really pleased we're coming back from behind in a way. You don't want teams to be taking the lead. Like, you don't want to be like, let's take the lead to see what we can do. But like, I'm really pleased that I think we spoke after the Sheffield United game and we said we played quite well, but ultimately we've got beat. And in the long run, we've lost we haven't won in so many games as it was at the time. And we said the response is going to be really important. And now we're sitting on 3 wins in the last 4, and 3 of those wins have come from behind. The game that we drew came from behind last minute, 93rd, I think it was. Patrick Roberts scored. So when it comes to like young teams, you could say like, oh, well, when someone take the lead, they're very good. The confidence is good. They step up and they can maintain a lead. I think we've also proved that we can actually come back from a goal down, 2 goals down. I think that's massive for character. I just see a bunch of young lads that are really fearless, and I think they're being guided by a good bit of experience as well. I thought Dan Neil was excellent again today. That's the 4th game in a row. I thought he's been very, very good in that defensive midfield role, which I've numerous times questioned whether he can play there. O'Nien's just O'Nien, put him where he is. As long as he's on the pitch, he's got leadership. Mepham, I'm kind of running out of things I can say about Mepham because for me, he's the best centre-half in the league. I think it was last week, he's the best centre-half we've had since Yunus Kabul. And I don't think there's any competition on that. I just think he's class. There was a point when he put a ball out for a corner, and not that I'm digging out Dan Ballard here, but last year we seen them look the road, put a cross in, and Ballard put it in the top corner because there's nothing much else that he could do. And he kind of went, you know what, he had to get on the end of it. The same thing happened with Mepham today, and he put it out for a corner. And it's just those little differences that Mepham has that make him just step up. And I think we talk a lot about the young boys. We talk a lot about the young, talented players that we have because they get the goals. They look good. Chris Rigg looks brilliant. Jobe gets the winner again today, and they're fully deserving of that praise. But as we said last season, those little bits of experience, like Chris Mepham, Luke O'Nien that's in the team, the little bits of experience that we do have, that we've just added little bits to this season, coupled with the fact that these players and the likes of Dan Neil are now seasoned pros, and Dan Neil's not seasoned pros, but he's had 4 years worth of experience in terms of his level of experience. And you look at Jobe, he's already had 1 year. Riggy's had a decent amount of experience last year. we just look like we can see a game out when in the past we might have conceded a little bit later on. When the 7 minutes goes up, you kind of go, oh shit. But I didn't feel like the players felt like, oh shit. And I think that's just such a big thing. But look, I've mentioned a few players there, Dave. I think, again, I've seen some people saying that didn't think we played very well. Look, it's subjective. I thought we did, to be honest. I thought the goal was scrappy. I thought it was unnecessary. I thought we controlled the game for the majority of the time. I don't agree with the notion that I thought Norwich were one of the better teams this season. I thought Derby were better than Norwich. I did not think much of Norwich at all, to be completely and utterly honest with you. And I know it's not a Norwich podcast, but I thought they sat back and sat in for a draw, got a decent goal, and then tried to sit in again and try to. I mean, we'll get into the referee because Jesus. But Dave, there's plenty of Sunderland players that deserve a bit of credit. Who are you picking out as your number one, or pick out? You know what? Pick out who the fuck you want. Do two if you want. Who gives a shit? Who cares?
I mean, you normally try to rein us in, and I normally just go off on a tangent anyway, so it's probably not going to be any different for the last couple of years.
I'm not editing this, am I? Like, let's be honest. I can barely squid your word out. I'll
try not to say that L word that I like using. Love is the word that I'm thinking of. All right, guys. For me, and it's probably just to annoy Brad because Brad's not on tonight, and he'll listen and he'll have and that was using listen in the right context. But just to annoy Brad, probably my ender. He gives us something. He's raw. I know he's a little bit different, and he's not a winger.
My name's Eliza Mayenda, right? Something. Yeah, go ahead.
And just for the fact that I am still waiting for the day that we get. I said it when he first came into the team, whatever it was, however many months ago. But I am waiting for, and he's trying to get my ender away because it's going to be a really, really good day when the commentator pulls that out. And I've said it because you're not editing it, so everyone's got to hear that. It's copyrighted, by the way, so screw the lot of yous. Unsubscribe, don't care. Yeah, it'd be my ender for me. But yeah, again, I thought Chris Rigg had a quiet first half by his standards, but then second half I thought it was fantastic. So that'll be my two. I know my end is a little bit in and out and not quite perfect, but I really, really like him. I think he should have a spell through the middle, if I'm honest, because Wilson has had a couple of decent saves against him the last couple of weeks, but I do think he needs a bit of a change of tact. So I'd like to see my ender of the last man because I think he gives us something. I enjoyed him the first part of the season. I tell you what, just to put it out there, are we 2 or 3 players away from challenging for automatic? There's a challenge for the board and Mr. Speakman. Do you fancy getting 3 experienced players in January and saying, right, we're going for it this year? Because if we can keep touch for the next couple of weeks, it's a busy period. Be interesting to see if we can grab an automatic one sneakily.
I think, to answer that question, I think we are probably 1 experienced midfielder away. Like maybe one that would look a bit like a Jordan Henderson, potentially. I'm going to push that agenda until it's no longer possible. But I actually feel like the squad itself, when everyone's fit, is more than good enough, to be honest. I think there's 1 or 2 positions there I would like, but I have a lot of confidence in, we're talking about today about the left wing. So it was on my end, it was on the left, and then they switched and Roberts went onto the left. But when you look at the left wing, like you're missing, we started the season with Jack Clark as your left winger. Then Mundell came in, and then Watson comes in. We've lost all 3 of them at various points for various different reasons, and we're still beating a team like Norwich, who, to be fair, it wasn't that long ago. They were, 7th, 8th, 6th, maybe? They're not a bad team. I wasn't impressed by them today. I'm not going to lie to you, but they're not the cannon fodder. And I felt like the squad is maybe stronger than I give it credit for, considering the injuries we had today. Like Trey Hume, I think, had with illness, today, I read. And O'Nien comes in. But then I thought the players he brought on at the end, like Yelder came on. Look, I know people aren't Yelder's biggest fan, but he hasn't done much wrong this season in the kind of very limited minutes he had. But Adji comes on at left back and offers you a more defensive option than Sirkin. And I thought, you know what, this team's not too bad. And I would say that I wanted, well, obviously, I think we're very good, to be honest. But I think the squad itself doesn't need too much, but I'd like just a tiny little bit more experience. But I mean, only if you can get the top level experience, the likes of Henderson, to be honest. I think you can elevate it a bit, but I definitely think this team, if you can get away from the crippling injury list that we've had at points this season, is definitely good enough for automatics. People talk to me about Leeds and stuff like that, and look, you can clip this and send it back to me if you want, Leeds fans, it's no bother. But for me, people go on about Leeds and stuff like that. They lost at Millwall. Like, they only got a last-minute draw at Preston. They're not wiping the floor with anyone. They're doing really well at home. They're hammering teams at home. They're 2-0 up within like 20 minutes most weeks. But away from home, they're not picking up a great amount of points. Sheffield United, I think, is a different conversation. I think Sheffield United are good. I think you look at Sheffield United's 2-point deduction, I think they'd be away, to be completely honest. But do I think Sunderland will get automatic promotion? I don't know. Do I think we're good enough for it? I think better luck, keeping your players fit, maybe one experienced addition in January, 100%. And I think that's based out of how we started the season, how we came out the sticky patch, and how we're playing at the moment, despite the fact we've got quite a few of our key players injured. But yeah, you know, like I say, the question that I said to you originally, Dave, was who's impressed you? And I think most weeks this season, we have a lot of people to choose from. But I'm going to go with Chris Rigg today. Is the player I thought was great. I thought he was excellent. I've said it for a few weeks. I think he needs maybe resting a bit. I thought today he ran the game, especially second half. I thought he was superb second half. I think he pretty much did nothing wrong that I can think of. I think everyone's seen the game. I don't need to wax lyrical for 10 minutes about how good Chris Rigg is. I think we all know that. But before I pass on to Pete and ask him the same question, shout out for Pato. Look, he had a lot of... His kicking wasn't great today. It really wasn't great today. But without his save at the end, which was a fantastic save, by the way, we don't get the win today. And that means Pato's paid his part. I think sometimes Pato gets a bit of a hard time. I understand why. I'm not going to do a big, massive defensive pattern here because his kicking was pants today. And he put us in bother a few times. But I thought when Pato needed to stand up and be tall, he made a fantastic save today. And I think to negate that and ignore it wouldn't be fair to Pato. If you're going to pick out his bad kicking, we need to touch on how fantastic his save was at the end. And it's not the first time we've seen that from Pato. So look, Chris Rigg's the big shout out for me, but just a little shout out for Pato for the save he made at the end. But Pete, who gets your shout outs to this week?
Do you know what? I mean, I've talked about Jobe, I've talked about Mep, and we've all talked about Chris Rigg, but I just wanted to give Dan Neil a mention today, just because he's developed. I mean, I'm also completely with you, Graham. I think if there was a hole in this team, it is in the shape of a Sunderland-born former academy player who has both a Champions League medal, winners medal, a Premier League winners medal, and multiple caps for England. Yeah, that would be grand. Get him in. What that would do to the team and where that would move people, would probably see Neil and Jobe competing for the same space in the team. But, you know, let's deal with that problem when we get to it. But I thought Dan Neil this week and in the last few weeks, well, after he came in for some pretty tough criticism, he's operating really well in this role as like the conductor of the orchestra from the midfield, where just an eye on everything, keeping it all going, keeping everything moving along. And it's really important to have that player in that position doing that, and somebody who is so reliable as Dan Neil when he's doing that, because it allows so many other options to come off them, and it keeps the momentum going. And the fact that, you know, look, the kid's a Sunderland fan through and through. At the stadium, I like 1-0 down, and Dan Neil's pushing you along. It's got to give them something, you know, it's got to instill something in them to want them to drive forward. So yeah, I think he deserves a mention today, Dan. I haven't seen any of the ratings he's picked up anywhere else, but I think obviously the headlines will go to Jobe for getting the winner. I mean, as we said, Chrissy Rigg played phenomenally in that second half. Bepham as well, and then Dan Ballard with his goal, of course. But yeah, no, little shout out to Dan Neil today. Good lad, well done. More of that, please.
Yeah, I think Dan's been excellent the past 4 games. He'll get the plaudits from last week because of how good his goal was. But for me, I wanted Dan Neil to step up and show me the Dan Neil that made me say last season, I think he's our most important player. Last 4 games, he's done that to the point where I haven't mentioned Dan Neil this week that much. And that's the Dan Neil I like, when I'm just like, yeah, Dan Neil's sound. Dan Neil's gravy. He's no problem. Every time. You're on mute, Pete.
I'm on mute. I'm not now. There we go. A reliable Dan Neil in this Sunderland team, and yeah, I'm very, very confident in what they can do and how they can when things do go wrong. I've got confidence in his ability to go, right, that hasn't gone right. Here's what we do. We go forward from here. And look, that's bore out in the results that we're getting coming from behind.
I thought he was really good today. I thought his passes were right. They were timed right. His tackles were perfect. He put in the tackles at the right time. I thought Daniel had a really good game today, and I think we probably have glossed over it a little bit because of how good I thought Ricky was, and Jobe's obviously got the goal. But yeah, Daniel, look, we've dug him out a couple of times this season because of the standard we believe he can have. Last 4 games is Daniel's standard without a team. Daniel's standard at his peak or at his just regular performance that we expect from him, in my opinion, is our best player and our most important player. I'll stand by that. I said that last year.
I also think Daniel's incredibly important looking to the future because, unfortunately, we are going to lose some of these players. But if you're a young player looking at where you can go, I know.
We're not, man.
But if you're a young player looking at where you're going to go and where you want to start your career academy-wise, where you want to develop academy-wise, look at those type of players that came through at around the same time as Daniel. Lots of players went off to various Man Uniteds and all of this, that, and the other, and have really never been heard of. Whereas Dan's got, what's it, 6,000, 7,000 first team appearances now or something like that already. He's an established top level professional footballer playing at the highest level week in, week out, which he's getting by being at Sunderland and coming through and doing everything there. So I think he sets a very good precedent for any future young players with where they see their future, perhaps at Sunderland as opposed to some of these other clubs, because they're going to get game time with us, and it's a great thing to have, potentially exciting for the future. But long may it continue with the lads we have here at the moment. But yeah, good stuff from Dan Nail today again.
I love that. The big thing for me with Daniel is that I love Jobe, I love Chris Rigg, but I love that Dan's one of us. And I know that's a really stupid, silly thing because they're all putting the same amount of effort every week. Ricky doesn't negate on effort. Jobe doesn't negate on his effort, despite the fact who they allegedly support. But Dan's one of us. Like, I think whether he put in 1% of effort or 100%, he'd still care. He's still something. That's something I like about that. Dave, look, I hate touching on this, and I feel like we haven't touched on it all season. But if anyone's listening to this podcast and we don't mention the referee, they're going to get annoyed because, oh my Lord, that referee was the worst referee I've ever seen in my life. I think I tweeted at halftime, and I very rarely tweet at halftime, Dave. I tweeted that the referee referees are ruining my love of the game. I've said this before. I don't know who would want to be a referee. I don't know who wants to get shouted at on a regular basis every single weekend. And I feel like there's something twigged with them that you want to be a referee. And look, this is going to be a controversial opinion. Let's just be honest. I've had a few. I'm just going to go for it. I don't understand why referees want to be referees in the first place. And it annoys me more when referees become the referees that they are today. Nothing flowed. He booked absolutely everyone. He was shite for both of us. Norwich won't be happy with him. Sunderland won't be happy with him. He ruined what could have potentially been, well, it was a good game, but it could have been a really, really good game because he just stopped it for everything. That game had so many yellow cards in, and we just didn't need that many yellow cards. Is that one of the worst refereeing performances we've ever seen at the stadium? Because I don't know if I don't know if I had too much, but I feel like it was horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look any better from my hotel room in Azerbaijan. If I'm honest, it was minging.
Not Paris then.
I like the travel. So Azerbaijan was this week.
Travel at the click of a button.
There's definitely some marketing strategy in there somewhere. You hear all the cliches, and the cliches for a reason. Wanted to make it about himself. I mean, why went over, and the one that bamboozled me more than anything, and there was a few of them, but was why he went over to Labrie and tried to stamp. Labrie didn't do anything. He was in his technical area. Sainz came over, tried to get the ball, and then made out that Labrie kicked his back ankle from him, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And
also,
then,
by the way, if there was a knob as big as the referee today,
yeah,
Borges Sainz,
Sainz,
this boy that I thought was going to be really good, he seemed to, I don't know how he did it. he managed to stoke the home fans up in our performance. We were actually a little bit flat until he started chucking himself about. And I was like, this kid's meant to be really good. And I've watched him and he's really good. But he's just flink. When O'Nien, the one that got me, which was just annoyed me about this, I can't pronounce his name, Borja Saints, we'll say that, and the referee. So he pretends that O'Nien's elbowed him in the face. So he does a few rolls. He like does a backflip, rolls about on the floor, and you think, well, that's obviously not an elbow in the face. And then the referee calls it as a free kick, and we all go, oh no, he's going to send O'Nien off. Because if he thinks that a foul, if he thinks that's a foul, he's going to send O'Nien off because he thinks it's a elbow in the face. Then he just gives a free kick. It's like, well, did you think it was an elbow in the face or not?
The probably that's one of the worst we've had for a while, and we've had some bad ones. There's
as I said the other week, pervert.
Yeah, just there isn't a good word I can speak for him, I don't think. Yeah, you just keep hoping that it gets better and better, but it very rarely improves. The standard's shocking. Bring back Pierluigi Collina or Howard Webb, Uriah Rennie. I'd take any of them, to be fair.
I'd take Rennie at this point because my heartburn was today a bit. It's not where it should have been. But you don't want to speak about referees, but I seen like a decision today, I think it was the Chef Wed game, where like Barry Bannon basically catches the ball and the ref not give a penalty. But look, no one cares about Chef Wed, but the standard of refereeing in the Championship is bad anyway, in my personal opinion. And it kind of sometimes ruins the love of the game for me. Today, though, was just like on another level. I've never seen something like that bad for ages. And I used to get really annoyed in League One about the referees. I think the Championship's a worse standard. I've said that for 3 seasons now. I think you either get an incompetent referee that's not good enough for the Premier League, or you get a Premier League referee that's been demoted that relies on VAR most weeks and then shits himself when he's got to make the decision without VAR. But today, we just took the biscuit. I just wanted to mention it. Just had to do it. I had no choice. I couldn't get beyond how bad the referee was today, and I thought if I didn't mention it, I'd probably get told off somebody. But Pete, away from the referee, last 4 games, Sunderland came back to win against Stoke, came back to get a draw against Bristol City, came back from 2-0 down to beat Swansea, and now we've came back to beat Norwich. We've seen Sunderland and how good we were at the start of the season, as I touched at the start of the show, when we go ahead, and how we can hold on to a lead, or how we have held on to a lead. We've had a little bit of a wobble in between, where we've gone, why are we not hanging out at the end of games, like Millwall, X, Y, and Z. How important is the last 4 results going to be in terms of mindset, and how much will it benefit us towards the end of the season?
It's going to be absolutely crucial in terms of mindset. I think what in terms of mindset though, one of the ones I would love to see, and I think everybody would, is Wilson Isidore back at goal. I mean, the lad, when he went clean through, the look on his face is just disbelief. He's thinking, well, look, I'm Wilson Isidore, I'll bang them away. And I've seen it on his face a couple of times in the last few weeks. So get him a goal, and then I'll be happy about mentalities. But no, it's massive, because if you've got to think, we were trying to put positives on the poor run of form that we had, where we put in all those draws, and trying to say, well, at least we're getting points, at least it's ticking along. It's not great, but it's not terrible yet. If that turns out to be Sunderland's bad patch this season, and it was, I mean, I don't want to jinx everything, but you know what I mean? That turns out to be Sunderland's bad patch of the season, where the wheels came off and, oh no, woe is me. Then we're challenging for the top 2 for real. I'm still with yous on there. We were saying 100 points, 100 goals, have it wrapped up by February, wasn't it, Dave? Something like that. We were joking on about before. But seriously, I think the playoffs have always been our ambition, our realistic target this year. But if that's our bad patch, and we continue with this form whereby you go ahead against us and we're coming after you, going to be right up there, knocking on Leeds and well, probably it's going to be Sheffield United and Leeds, isn't it? In those positions, you're going to have to take one of those positions from one of those teams if Sunderland are to get into the automatics. But mentality-wise, massive, absolutely huge. And I think it just shows back to the character of players like Jobe. He knows his class. Jobe is a 19-year-old boy who knows he's a top quality, right up there. Championship footballer, if not even higher standard already. And that mentality of knowing that you're good and knowing that you can carry it out and knowing that you can come from behind and get a result, absolutely colossal, particularly when it's going to get to those games when you're in back end of March, April, and of course into May there when we get down to the crunch time. So yeah, I'm over the moon with the mentality that's being shown, and I think the one of the phrases I've heard from yourself, Jay, has been, was it mental monster from about some of them, that they've got that winning mentality, that they know when the chips are down, that they've got the ability and belief in their own ability. Can't beat that, man. I love it to bits.
I think Jobe's mentality is just like, I mean, he's not very good at like knee slides, like, but you know, I'll let him off for that one. Not very good at that today.
Well, it resulted in him getting the boot up the backside, didn't it? The day,
like Bishop Brennan. You did kick me up the arse. One of the best episodes of TV of all fucking time. Dave, couple of listeners' questions, because some of them are quite good. A lot of them are about Aish. I think the best worded one, no offense to the people who asked questions about Aish as well. Has Aish shown that he's done enough to keep the spot in the squad in January? He's looked lively every time he's come on of late. For my own personal opinion on this, Dave, before you do, yes, thought he played well again today. I've always felt Aish has got something. I'm not going to say I think he's a world beater, but I've always felt he's got something he can contribute to the team. He's skillful. He's got a bit of trickery about him. He's got a bit of... He's decent. His passing's decent. He looks like he's got a bit of an eye for goal in the sporadic times we've seen him last season. He can take a penalty. I'll give him that. We've seen that last year. I think it's maybe down to work ethic that Reggie seems to have not been a big fan of, but I thought he worked his bollocks off the day. So for me, I don't know about you, Dave, but it's a yes for me. I think Adil's I think he really does have an opportunity to add to the squad, and I think we'll be silly not to keep on him. I think it would be hard to keep a player who can offer what he offers. I don't think we need to buy anyone and spend money on someone or loan anyone in to replace him. I think what he offers is enough.
Yeah, I think it's his off the ball work that hinders him ever so slightly. He doesn't move quite as freely as Chris Rigg. He's not quite as physical as Chris Rigg.
Good today though. I thought he worked hard today though.
Yeah, he does
in general, but I thought today he took the ball to the corner. He was smart in what he did.
He was very clever on the ball, no doubt about that. It's as if he hasn't got long enough hamstrings to like track back properly. I don't necessarily think it's an attitude thing with him. I just don't think it's his game. I think if we were having like late 60% possessions, he fits in there quite easily. But when there's so much that Labrie has done this season off the ball, I just think that's what hinders him ever so slightly. But hey, he's a great option the last couple of weeks for like 20, 25 minutes to carry the ball up the field, give us a breather, a little bit tricky, a little bit direct, sees a clever pass. Yeah, I think there's something there with him as well. He wouldn't necessarily be a starter for me, but I'd love to see him get a really good assist or a bag a goal or something and just go on a little bit of a run. I think he deserves it. Considering the comments from the hierarchy the other week about attitudes on the bench and stuff like that, he's obviously bought into that, and he's obviously putting it right at training and putting in his effort and stuff. So, yeah, I've got time for him. One thing I did notice today, Peter might have noticed it, but was talking about attitudes of substitutes and stuff, was Royson. He didn't celebrate Jobe's goal quite as well. If you get to see any highlights.
I like Nazi.
Can't help it. I think he's just a little bit depressed, bless him. I don't think there's anything nasty, and I don't think he's been a dick or anything. But yeah, there's something really, really wrong with it there.
Look, with Nazi, it's just not worked out. It's a real shame. I think there's caveats and reasons behind why it hasn't worked out for Roussin. But look, I've just got a soft spot for him. No reason behind it. I just like him. And I'm sad that didn't work out for him. Fair play. Pete, there's a really good question here that I asked before. Straightforward. Who's our best centre-half pairing?
Oh, my word. Yeah, I'm going to give the answer I gave as well, which at the moment it's, for me, it is 09 and Mepham. And my reason for putting 09 in there is the release. It's the way he plays with the ball at his feet. It's that left-footed, long cross-field release pass that he has that I think is accurate, deadly. You know what? Sometimes there's a lot to be said for a long ball. And particularly when you've got players like Sunderland have on the flanks that can attack with pace, if you can find one of those, or you can find Wilson Isidore with that pass, that puts them on the last man. And, I think if you give Wilson Isidore the chance he had the day, again, a couple of times, we've seen him score one already, he scores that more often than he doesn't. I also think Luke gives you... he gives you the shithousery, doesn't he? He gives you the bit of the dark arts that I do think's important in the Championship because it's such a tough league. But yeah, I mean, that's not, and I really don't want to dismiss Dan Ballard on the day the lad scored a goal again. Is like not being my starting centre half, because I do love a big lad that'll get a goal from a set piece as a centre half. But it's with the ball at his feet and the way Regis Labrise wants them to play football. He's going to get caught out. And there was a few bits and bobs earlier on today with Ballard when the team wasn't playing well. And obviously that, when the team aren't playing well, individuals aren't playing well. And I just think, sorry. So I'm going to wrap that up very quickly. I love Dan Ballard, but 09 and Mepham start for me.
Yeah, same here. Someone's asked, when does the Leo Yelda Appreciation Society start? Right now. There's the answer.
It's already started. It's done. Yes.
It's began. We've got the preview show coming up for the Blackburn game. We've got a Christmas special coming up, but I am going to go and have another drink and enjoy my night. But lads, thanks very much. Merry Christmas if you don't listen to us before Christmas. I guess.
Absolute pleasure. Safe trip, Pete.
Thanks very much, lads. Merry Christmas.